All right, good afternoon, everyone. For those that are attending live and also those that are attending asynchronously, welcome to our second session of the Financial Wellness Workshops for students. So happy that you're here. Today's topic is what's your money attitude, mantra, and history. We got a lot of fun stuff to cover and I don't want to waste any time. So I'll go ahead and give the floor to CJ. Just a quick reminder, if you have any questions, if you'd like to interact with us throughout, please don't hesitate to chat either to the group or directly to me, and we'll answer any questions or items that you'd like to address. And we're happy to have you interact with us. So please don't be shy. All right, and with that, I'll give the floor to CJ.
Great. Thanks so much, Maria. Well, welcome back to number 2 of 6 of our personal financial wellness workshops. As I mentioned when we first met, this workshop really is a twofold outcome. The first is to provide you with information, tips and tools and tricks to make you more comfortable in your own personal financial wellness skin. But it's also to give you some resources to use in conversations with your colleagues. So many of you are in the position to be really sort of a peer mentor, and we appreciate the opportunity for you to learn a variety of things that may be of value to individuals that you come across on campus. So we talked last week about starting the conversation about really understanding that the topic of money is often taboo for a variety of reasons. It could be culture, it could be gender, it could be environment, upbringing. But we want to break that cycle. We want to talk about money. We want to do so with curiosity and with opportunities to provide information, not a hard sell, not suggesting that we know it all, but just, I'm curious that you don't have a savings account. Have you thought about it? Those kinds of conversations. So any of the handouts that we use in any of the workshops are available to you to use with others. So please make free use of them as we go through. Today is about the psychology of money. So let's take a look and see exactly what our objectives are and how we're going to manage today. So the first thing that we want to do is understand the link between self-worth and personal finances. We're going to take a look at the impact of automatic thoughts on financial decisions, and we're going to describe how love, marriage, and money interact. So stay tuned for that topic. How are we going to do that? Well, we're going to first of all look at financial wellness. We're going to discuss what your money attitude is. Take a look at our money mindset and then that money and relationships. So in just a moment, I'm going to ask you to join me on mentee.com. I'm going to give Maria a chance to put that secret number in the chat box. But before we get there, I want you to think about the word wellness. So the National Wellness Institute talks about wellness as an active process through which people become aware of and make choices toward a more successful existence. Now that you've got a definition of wellness, add to that, what do you think personal financial wellness is? How would you define that? What words come to mind when you hear that statement? Personal financial wellness. I'm going to go ahead and bring up the Mentimeter screen. Feel free to join us there. We love to have you do that. So again, you're going to go to, on your phone or your computer, www.mentee.com. Oops, that's not the code that I have. That's very strange. That's not going to work. I apologize. Let's see if this is the new code. 6613. Is it?
I think it's the new code. Sorry to interrupt.
Okay, so 6613 4619. I apologize. So let's see if we can get people to join us there. 6613 4619. What words come to mind when you hear the term personal financial wellness? We'd love to have you participate in this. So any words that you can think of. peace of mind, balance, budget, safe, savings. Keep them coming. Investments, crypto, health, stability, balance. Great words. We'll leave this open for just a little bit longer to allow you to put in some more thoughts if you'd like. All right, we'll stop for just a moment. When we look at the word personal financial wellness, actually there are 4 elements that make up that personal financial wellness. So the first is your objective economic status. The second is your subjective perception of your economic status. The third is your financial behaviors. And the fourth is your satisfaction with your financial situation. So let's hone in on all 4 of those by thinking about how you're feeling right now about your finances. So any chance that you're feeling a little unwell? Research shows that 30 million American workers, 1 in 4, report they are seriously distressed and dissatisfied with their financial matters. And this spans all income levels. And it appears it doesn't matter what you do, how educated you are, or even how much money you have. Matter of fact, what we find is that regardless of job title, education level, or affluence, nearly everyone is concerned with the following. The first is their actual sufficiency of their money. Do I have enough? And it might be, do I have enough in the short term? Do I have enough in the long term? But just that question, do I have enough? Or they are also concerned with perhaps the sustainability of their resources. How long will my money last? And again, remember, this doesn't matter about your age, your job title, your income level. You might be moving into retirement, wondering how long will my money last? You might be a freshman in college thinking, how long will my money last? And then there's the appropriateness of their financial decisions. Is this the right choice for me? Gosh, maybe I should have bought that used car instead of that new car. Maybe I should have stayed in my parents' house instead of renting. Maybe I should have taken that job across the country instead of staying here. All of those questions. And it's happening with everyone across all income levels and so forth. So one of the things that we want to take a look at is just exactly what's our money attitude. But before we do that, let's think for a moment about what is the psychology of money? Well, it's part of behavioral economics. And behavioral economics is about understanding how real people behave in real world situations. Now, for those of you that might be studying economics, I'm an absolute student, lifelong one of economics, but we have to take a step back and recognize that conventional economics assumes that people are calculating, omniscient, self-interested, and focused on maximizing their wealth or income. Well, I'm not so sure that's exactly true. So for behavioral economics, it's important that we be able to not only describe, but explain how people make choices. It's also important for us to get a handle on how most people will behave and how they will make particular decisions given particular circumstances. Because when you think about it, almost no one maximizes, carefully calculates cost versus benefit, operates with perfect information, or carefully forecasts into the future the implications of current decisions, especially with any degree of certainty. Instead, People engage in what behavioral economists refer to as satisficing. SATISFICING. So take the word satisfying and change it up to satisficing. They do the best they can to get the best results they can, given the psychological, physiological, and environmental constraints they face. So emotions play an important role in people's decision making. And fortunately, behavioral economics incorporates this important fact of life into its decision theory. So emotions are assumed to be unimportant for the decision making in the conventional economic model, which doesn't really help us out very much because the topic of money can be pretty emotional. People don't make decisions in isolation from society, or at a more micro level, in isolation from family and friends. They don't behave as though they are operating in a hermetically sealed room. They're influenced by what their friends and family think and by what those outside of their group do. People are affected by social norms, by culture, by religion. Their decisions can also be significantly influenced by those with whom they identify. Their level of happiness is impacted by their desire to fit in. And current decisions also are influenced by past decisions. So the question now is, what's your attitude towards money? So we have a handout for you that is a writable, fillable PDF. And we're interested in hearing what's your money attitude. I'm going to go ahead and put this up on the screen as well. And this is just an absolute brain drain. No point in taking a whole lot of time thinking about what the actual answers are, because it really depends on you. So when you look at it, just go with your first reaction. So we've got several things for you to fill out. Just fill in the blank. And if you do so on the screen, that's great. So you've got your answers. I'm just going to pull this up if you're doing it with a piece of paper. So you're just going to answer the fill in the blank. Money is, and go with your first thought, because the right answer happens to be your answer. I'll squinch this up in just a moment so you can see the other questions if you're using this as your guide. I'm going to go ahead and squinch this up so you can see the last of the questions if you're using this as a guide. Going to give you a few more minutes to put your thoughts down. We'll go 30 more seconds and then we'll pull together. All right, perfect. So I know that we have a lot of crickets on Friday afternoons, but I'm hoping that crickets can use the chat box. So if you don't feel comfortable in shouting this out, pop it into the chat box. But Gerardo, can you tell me what you answered for money is?
I'll also send them a chat in case that's easier.
Okay. So we can use the chat box. So anybody who wants to answer that money is, pop that in the chat box. We won't put anybody on the spot. But I know you've got some ideas.
Also chat me directly and I will not read out your name. Just read out your response.
Money is a tool. Absolutely. Thank you for that. So someone provide me with an answer for if I had $100, I would.
I said I would invest it.
Right.
Nice. I would invest it. Okay. Somebody else said money is important. Thank you for that response. So what about, I think people with lots of money? Who's got a response for that one?
For mine, I put have more choices.
Nice. I think people with lots of money have more choices. How about I think people who don't have much money?
Anyone want to direct message me and let me know what you put for that? I put struggle greatly on mine.
Yeah, struggle greatly. I usually answer that with don't have the information they need. So John, help us out. When I retire, I want to have.
A surfboard.
Nice. You go. How about when I have money?
Cynthia, would you like to direct message me? Let me know what you put for that. When I have money, I put feel empowered on mine.
I will enjoy it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Absolutely. How about when I don't have money? When I have money, I will travel. Nice. When I say when I don't have money, I'm anxious and stressed out. Try something new.
I also put I am anxious and depressed when I don't have a lot of money.
When I don't have money, I stress out. Yeah. How about when I need or want money?
I look for resources.
For resources. Thank you. Absolutely. Have a yard sale. Very nice. Good action. So I appreciate you responding. What this is all about is the fact that we all have, oh, when I need money, I ask for more hours. Excellent. So we don't all have the same money attitudes. There's no reason why we would. So we'll come back to that in just a moment. But we've just taken a real quick pulse check of our attitude towards money, which could be a reflection of our money history. And if you recall last week, your personal financial wellness challenge was to take some time to think about your history, do a little conversation with family and friends, because your money history is shaped by money messages from your friends, from the community, and society in general. It's really what shapes, part of what shapes our beliefs about money and your relationship with money. We mentioned last week that how you feel about yourself will impact how you manage your money. Well, part of our money history includes sort of a recurring sound bite. Some of us might think of that sound bite as an adage. Maybe it's a motto, maybe it's a mantra, a slogan, a phrase, or just a wise saying. For example, you've probably heard someone say most of your life, money doesn't grow on trees, which I always thought was such a silly thing to say to somebody because, of course, I know it doesn't. I mean, if it did, I would have figured that out. Or you can't take it with you. So we've got a little bit of a harder task for you and an opportunity for you to be anonymous as well. But I'd like you to take a moment to look at the money mindset sheet that Maria is going to put in the chat box, and I'm going to pull that up as well. This is a little bit more of an effort here, but what I'm looking for you to do is to take a moment to read these statements. There are 12 of them, and think about whether or not the statement seems similar to your beliefs and feelings about money, somewhat similar to your beliefs and feelings about money, or not at all related to your beliefs and feelings about money. And then you have an opportunity to consider your core beliefs and feelings about saving, spending, investment, and credit, and write your own money statement. So it might be one of these, but it also might be something that you have said to yourself many times. We'd love to have you share that with us in the mentee.com scenario. But right now, let's just work on this and then give you about 5 minutes or so to do this. And then we'll pull up that mentee meter for you. But focus just on this. Think about as you read these statements, do they reflect your thoughts or maybe not at all? And then what is that money mindset? What is that possible statement that you say to yourself over and over again? So we'll only torture you for about 5 minutes. One more minute and then we'll pull together. All right. So before we hear from you, let's take a look at some of the celebrity money statements. So Warren Buffett, many of you may know him. He is a business magnate. He's the CEO of Berkshire Hathaways. He is a philanthropist, and he is constantly, people follow him based on his information about investments. So he knows full well that it's not easy to get rich quick. So Coco Chanel was a famous fashionista back in the day. And I love her statement. There are people who have money and people who are rich. David Bailey says to get rich, you have to be making money while you're asleep. So that gets us back to the idea that compound interest is a beautiful thing. And we all know Ted Turner. He says life is a game. Money is how we keep score. So we'd love to hear from you. This is going to be another mentee meter, and get a sense of what your money mindset is. So again, the correct code is 6613 4619. And again, we'll never know who said it. So please feel free to take a moment to share, because we learn so much from one another. Nice. Money is a necessary evil that can bring much good if used wisely. Thank you for sharing. Set myself up early and try to invest as much as possible to have something in the future.
And for some students, perhaps, your money is very much tied to your family still, because you still live with your folks and many ways supported by them. So perhaps you can give yourself a future money mindset that you'd like to strive for when it's more on your shoulders.
Great suggestion, Maria. Thank you. We'll keep this open for just a little bit longer to let you share. My money mindset is to save up, and when I'm on my own, I can buy my own things. I love that. That's the feeling of empowerment. Choice is a wonderful thing. Well, thank you for sharing. Keep thinking about what that money mindset is, because part of the puzzle is whether or not your family and friends share your money mindset. We often, as we've mentioned before, feel uncomfortable talking about money. And I am such a strong proponent of having that conversation wherever you might be. And so I think asking about a money mindset is a great conversation starter, because we don't often get to share our perspective. And remember, it's my mindset. So you don't have to agree with it. And you don't have to judge me on it. You just have to let me express myself. Here's another idea. Ask your friends or your family if they've actually seen you behave as you believe. So are you walking the talk? Maybe you've talked about saving for a rainy day, but you're thinking, yeah, it's sort of a drought, so no need to do that. I'm spending my way, happy. So the other piece of the puzzle that gets a little bit more reflective and a little deeper is When you think about your money mindset, is it helping you achieve personal financial goals? Well, I'll be honest. Years ago, my money mindset, because I was a banker, as I've shared with you, is that it's just numbers on paper. Well, you can take that a little bit in the wrong way. So if you just think it's numbers on paper, it doesn't sound really real. So you can get yourself in a little bit of trouble with that. So I sort of woke up one day and said, yeah, I don't think that's my mantra. I don't think that's going to really put me where I need to be. So I'm much more realistic that it's there's a little bit more teeth to it than just numbers on paper. But it was a good escapism for a little bit. Well, let's move on. This gets a little bit deep, and I know the topic's a little bit dry, but it really sets the foundation for our conversations. Many of you may be familiar with cognitive behavior therapy, CBT for short. Those of you who are not, or anyone needing a refresher, let me just bring you up to speed a little bit. Cognitive behavior therapy was actually invented, and that's the term they like to use, by a psychiatrist, Aaron Beck, in the 1960s. He was doing psychoanalysis at the time, and he observed during his sessions that his patients seemed to have some sort of internal dialogue going on in their minds, and almost as if they were talking to themselves. But they would only report a fraction of this kind of thinking to him. Beck realized that the link between thoughts and feelings was very important. He went on to invent the term automatic thoughts to describe emotion-filled thoughts that might pop up in the mind. Beck found that people weren't always fully aware of such thoughts, but could learn to identify and report them. So if a person was feeling upset in some way, the thoughts were usually negative. They were also not realistic or helpful. Beck found that identifying these thoughts was the key to the client understanding and overcoming his or her challenges. Well, Beck called it cognitive therapy because of the importance it places on thinking. It's now known as cognitive behavior therapy because the therapy employs behavioral techniques as well. There are a variety of styles of CBT, just depends on the particular analyst. But regardless of that, CBT has undergone successful scientific trials in many places by many different teams and has been applied to a wide variety of problems. CBT is based on a model or a theory that it's not the events themselves that upset us, but the meanings we give them, our belief system around them. So if our thoughts are too negative, it can block us seeing things or doing things that don't fit, that disconform what we believe is true. In other words, we continue to hold on to the same old thoughts and fail to learn anything new. Listen carefully to the next piece of this because I think it's a little bit, well, food for thought, at least. Beck suggested that these thinking patterns are set up in childhood and become automatic and relatively fixed. So a child who didn't get much open affection from their parents, but was praised for schoolwork might come to think, I have to do well all the time. If I don't, people will reject me. Such a rule for living, which is actually known as dysfunctional assumption, may do well for the person a lot of the time and help them work hard. But take a step back and think about this. If something happens that's beyond their control and they experience failure, then the dysfunctional thought pattern may be triggered. The person may then begin to have automatic thoughts like, I've completely failed. No one will like me. I can't face them. So the reason we bring this topic to mind is that it's possible that our attitude towards money and our money mindset are a result of dysfunctional thoughts and in turn automatic thoughts, and we aren't even conscious of them. So let's pursue this a little bit further because I think it's important to understand that we hold two different types of beliefs. rational, and irrational beliefs. So let's think about Sylvia. So Sylvia believes that she will never have enough money. With that as her mindset, it's very possible that she won't ever feel that she has enough money. However, when Sylvia evaluates her behavior, that never and enough are not defined and therefore not achievable. So she may move into rational beliefs because Sylvia also realizes that she has control over her future. As Sylvia is figuring things out, her new belief is, I will define my financial goals and develop an action plan to reach them. So again, let me just slip back to the first slide, because I believe in my heart that many of us have had these kinds of thoughts. I'll never have enough. I don't think I can succeed. This is too hard. And at the moment, they don't seem really irrational. They seem pretty factual to me. But if I can step back and begin to dissect and say, well, what is enough? Oh, well, I'll have enough for the lifestyle I want, but I probably won't have enough to buy a couple yachts, but I get seasick. So why would I want them? And then I can start moving into a rational belief. I can recognize that I can create a plan, that I can finish my degree, all sorts of things that will suddenly make sense to me. And now I don't feel quite so lost. Well, let's figure out how we can do a reality check. Because the first thing we have to be able to say to ourselves is your belief true? Maybe not. Is your belief healthy? Probably not. Is your belief helpful? Is your belief realistic? Is your belief logical? So if you use this as your reality check, and if you discover the answer to any of these 5 questions is no, then guess what? Your belief is irrational. You can then choose to change your belief. And let's face it, it may take time and determination, but you're back in control, which is where you want to be. So let me stop for just a moment. I know that you're still all crickets, but if there's something that you want clarified or there's a issue that you want to bring up, I'm going to just sit here for a moment and allow the silence to be delightful while you think if there's something that you need clarification on. The chat box is a beautiful place to do that, or feel free to unmute and ask a question or two, or possibly make a comment.
Can I ask a question?
You may.
The creative juices flowing. I'm just, putting myself in the shoes of 18, 19-year-old me. And do you have any advice for someone at that age and in that place of life? If we are finding, perhaps we are realizing that we do have, an irrational belief, what are maybe some resources to talk to help me work on that?
I think that oftentimes, as silly as it may sound, it's just the fact that you would even open up your mouth and have those conversations with anyone. Sometimes you have people in your sphere of influence that can be that grounding influence, or that can just let you explore. So the very fact that you would take that bold step to just say to someone in your sphere of influence, listen, do you ever feel this way? Or has it ever occurred to you that, or are you concerned about? Because part of this journey is to recognize you're not alone, that many of us feel stress from not enough money. Even people that we think are well put together are living paycheck to paycheck because of the pandemic. So I think that my advice would be to approach other people with curiosity and just say, hey, I'm having some issues around this, and I'm just wondering, has it ever bothered you that you're thinking, how am I ever going to afford a house? I'm making $13 an hour. Do people get a house when they make that much? And it's all about curiosity, because someone might say, oh, listen, hey, I know of this, or I can, and that's where the conversation is so important. Just allowing yourself to express your concerns. And again, what we like to say is that no one's asking you to reveal, no one's asking you to do deep, dark secrets of your history of money or your family's financial piece. It's more just of the fact that, wow, it never occurred to me that other people felt this way. So I'll share a story. I waitressed for 2 years in high school and saved up enough money both school years to spend it, and I chose to spend it on trips. I was in a very funny position because the trip I took to Norway was paid completely for by me, and I was in a group of people who had more money than I can imagine. And they were on the trip because their parents were trying to figure out what to do for them for the summer. And what we had a wonderful opportunity to do is that they were complaining a lot. And I would say calmly, hey, I paid for this trip. Stop complaining. I'm going to make the best out of it. And together we had a wonderful conversations, because they would say, oh yeah, I guess this isn't so bad. And I'd say, well, it's not that it's great, but if you'd paid for it. And it wasn't that I was being better than them or they better than me, but we just had such different views of how the world ran. And it was very helpful for me to hear their view of money, and they were stunned by my view of money. And that was a conversation at 16, and it stayed with me for years. So it's the conversation.
Maria, what we might do, and CJ, I'm just thinking of this right now, we might come up with some resources that you guys can have on hand about CBT and about belief. Because I think the first hurdle that people have to get over is that they actually do have beliefs that are not true. Everyone has beliefs, some beliefs that are not true. It isn't just people who have problems with money. And so the first thing is to open that door where people can acknowledge that they might have, they're open-minded enough that they might have some beliefs that are not true. And then you make the leap over to money, to my relationship with money. What do I believe about money? What do I believe about me and money, other people and money? I would be interested to know whether or not there are people in your counseling center who practice CBT. I bet there are, and who could be willing to shape some talks that you could post on the internet, maybe little podcasts about CBT and about how that could relate to people's beliefs about money and so forth. It might be very interesting for some of your clinicians to get involved in that conversation.
Great idea, John. Thanks. Well, we're going to wrap up. I promised you a little bit of a sexy conversation, so here we go. We're going to talk about financial infidelity. So we're not going to ask you to come clean. We're going to let you just keep your own counsel. But it's possible that some of us have committed financial infidelity. What is it? Well, it's acts of financial deception. You might hide purchases from your friends or family or a significant other. You might be a compulsive shopper. You might stretch the truth a little bit about the real price of an item, and so on. We know that financial infidelity can have devastating effects on relationships. Interestingly enough, a recent survey by CESI Solutions revealed that an alarming 80% of individuals admit hiding money from their partner. Well, this is differing money histories, different money mindsets, different money scripts can sort of wreak havoc with relationships. So when we think about financial infidelity, there are some that we might say, well, it's not that big a deal. And I'm one of those. I'm committing it now and then because I don't know why. My husband could care less how much it costs for me to get my hair cut. But I'm thinking it's pretty pricey and I don't have much hair. So he might say to me after I get my hair cut, how much does a haircut cost these days? Now, I should also tell you that he cuts his own hair because he's bald. So now I'm really feeling like I can't really say anything. So I make some ridiculous comment like, same as last year. Because of course, he doesn't know what last year was either. Now, why don't I just come out and say that I pay $135? Because I think that's an outrageous amount to pay. That's why I don't say it. Now, that's my issue. He doesn't have an issue with it. I could say 165. He doesn't have an issue with it. So why am I committing financial infidelity? I'm not exactly sure why. But on the other hand, now and then I get a comment when I say, so is that a new power tool? I get this interesting response because I could care less if it was. And I get this sort of, oh no, had it for a while. Yeah, just found it in the garage. I'm thinking, really? Because it looks pretty new. So why do we do that? I can't tell you, but I can tell you that it happens every day. I know that my adult children, when I say something like, wow, that's a beautiful pickup. How much was that? I'm not trying to judge, but I'm pretty sure they think I am. So I get some sort of weird response that says, oh, steal of a deal. So I just want you to know that this is not unlikely that you have committed financial infidelity or that you're doing that. What we want to be careful of is that if we're in a committed relationship, we've got to have some recognition that that's going on. So we're not talking about hardcore hiding offshore account somewhere or all of those kinds of crazy things. We're just talking about everyday stuff because isn't it interesting? The reason we commit financial infidelity is because we can't talk about it. We're not used to having those conversations. We're so sure. So my irrational belief is that my husband will be upset with whatever price I put on my haircut. I know that's not true, but I can't quite get through it. So I share that with you because I want you to recognize that we're all in this together and we all have some interesting ideas. So let's talk about what we have wrapped up with. We've had sort of a dry conversation today because it's been a lot of information. But muddle through this week. Research indicates that how you view yourself, your self-worth, is directly linked to how you manage your money. Our money attitude and our money mindset could be the result of automatic thoughts. So one of my automatic thoughts that I learned from my mother as another money mindset is you get what you pay for. And sometimes when I take the cheaper route and get something that I know probably isn't going to withstand the test of time, and when it breaks down, I can hear my mother in my head saying, you get what you pay for. So I do have some automatic thoughts about that. Your relationship with money affects your relationship with others. And the financial infidelity aside, just think about how you interact with your peers. So sometimes when I was in college, I had to say, no, can't do it, don't have the cash. And then other times I didn't want to say that. So instead, I figured out how to squinch and save and put off doing my laundry so I could go out and have fun with my friends because I got tired of saying all the time, nah, can't do it, don't have the cash. So I absolutely believe that my relationships with money affected my relationships with my friends and family. I'm going to go ahead and give you your personal financial wellness challenge for this week, and then pull back and ask you to let us know in the chat box anything we still need to cover or what's a takeaway from today. So this week, I'd love to have you consider checking your automatic thoughts. Not necessarily about money, might be about classwork, might be about relationships, but do a little quick check. Are they based on irrational or rational beliefs? We will be back next week talking about saying no to the budget. So that sounds pretty crazy. Opportunity for you to let us know in the chat box before we close up anything that you're taking away today, if you found this of value, because we always want to make certain that your time is being used wisely, especially since we're the one using.
I remember when I was younger, when I was 18, 19, 20, I would get about $350 paycheck for 2 weeks, and it felt like so much money. And it was so much fun to burn through it so quickly and buy the most expensive things. And so that's as part of the wellness challenge, if there's something that the students that are tuning in on this, if there's something that you kind of spend a lot of money on, and maybe it's some sort of delicious meal, or getting your nails done, or maybe getting something for your car, ask yourself, kind of explore that a little bit. Don't just do what I did and just I'll worry about it later, because you will worry about it later. So it's good to kind of ask yourself, like, check in with yourself and be mindful of what's going on in the background. That's kind of my addition to that financial wellness challenge.
Perfect. Thank you. Well, we're a wrap. So the crickets are alive and well today. No sounds whatsoever. So except Bernardo, thank you for yours. And again, many of you did chat. But if there's an opportunity to just chat in the chat box about how today went, we'd love to hear from you.
Thank you, everyone, for attending. And we hope to see you all next week and some more to make the conversation lively. And I'll be sending this recording as well as the handouts to everyone that's attended. So just stay tuned for that, please. And otherwise, we are officially done for today. Go have a wonderful weekend and rest well, everybody.
Thank you. Have a great weekend.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. Great session, CJ.
Yeah, appreciate your input.